ready to ditch those tourist traps, the ones everyone flocks to.
Been there.
Today we're diving headfirst into a place that's anything but ordinary. Rugged mountains, that sparkling Adriatic Sea. We're talking Montenegro. A whole lot of history packed into a seriously small space. Smaller than Connecticut, to be precise.
Wow, that's tiny.
Right. You shared some seriously impressive travel guides from Book 24, both by this writer, Maiken.
Yeah, Maiken.
They really dig into Montenegro, especially the capital, Podgorica. So forget those surface-level travel blogs. Today, we're going deep.
Love it. What gets me about Montenegro is, well, it's not just another pretty spot on the Balkans. This is a country that's been through the ringer, historically speaking. Empires came and went, each one leaving its own little mark on, well, everything. The culture, the buildings, even the food.
Okay, let's break down this historical layer cake. We're talking ancient Illyrian tribes, then the Roman Empire, then a whole mix of Slavic kingdoms, and even a period under Ottoman rule. Where do we even begin?
Okay, picture this. You're standing in the Bay of Kotor. Those incredible limestone cliffs rising up around you.
Oh, I've seen pictures, breathtaking.
You're not just admiring a view, you're seeing a landscape that's witnessed like the entire story of civilization unfolding. Rise and fall of empires, the whole shebang. That's the magic of Montenegro.
Okay, I'm sold. No, you mentioned the Tito era. The guides mentioned Podgorica was actually called Titograd for a while. That's a mouthful.
Right, it just hits you how much the 20th century shook things up in this region. Josip Broz Tito, the big guy in charge of Yugoslavia. He wasn't just a president. This was 1963 when they declared him president for life.
Whoa, president for life. Talk about pressure.
Exactly. Can you imagine the political climate back then? Wild.
It really puts things in perspective when you realize how recently Montenegro became independent. 2006, that's incredibly recent for a nation.
It's like they hit the reset button,
So true. Speaking of resets, this historical roller coaster takes us to modern-day Podgorica. But you mentioned it got hit hard in World War II, bombed pretty badly, right?
Yeah, it was rough.
Does that mean it's, less charming than some of those picture-perfect European capitals?
Charming might not be the first word that comes to mind. While other cities were busy preserving their medieval stuff, Podgorica was literally rebuilding from rubble.
Ah, that explains it.
It's got this really modern feel, almost like a blank canvas, where they're redefining what a capital city can be. Pretty cool, actually.
So instead of those charming cobblestone streets and buildings, we should expect something a little more, edgy.
You got it. It's a city that owns its past, even if that past was tough. Think brutalist architecture, right next to Ottoman bridges, like layers of history, all mashed up together.
It's like a city that's constantly reinventing itself, always pushing boundaries. That has to make for some seriously unique experiences. Now, the scenery's already calling my name, but the guides also piqued to my foodie interest. Gotta love good food.
Well, for sure. And the Montenegrin food scene, let me tell you, it's an adventure. Maiken can't stop raving about this place, Restaurant Galleon in Kotor.
Okay, Kotor, beautiful spot.
Right. And this restaurant, imagine this, the freshest seafood, those stunning bay views, pure magic.
Okay, sign me up. Although I gotta ask, any local favorites? Something for those of us who want the authentic experience.
Absolutely. The guides recommend this spot, Podvolat. It's in Podgorica, and apparently it's where the locals in the know go.
Ooh, I love a good hidden gem.
Right. But they stress, really immersing yourself in the whole food scene, starting with a visit to the Podgorica market. It's in Budva.
Ooh, a real deal open-air market. I can almost smell the spices, hear the chatter, that whole lively atmosphere.
Exactly. Now, we can't talk Montenegrin food without mentioning Dugushi Prout.
Okay, that sounds interesting. What is it?
Picture this smoked ham, cured in the mountain air, Chiguji village. These age-old techniques. It's incredible.
Okay, you had me at smoked ham. But we need some sides. The guides mentioned something called kaçamak. What in the world is that?
Kaçamak is like pure comfort food, Montenegrin style. Hearty porridge made with potatoes, cornmeal. Sometimes they serve it with cheese or sour milk.
Okay, that actually sounds pretty good.
It's one of those dishes, it tells a story. Simple ingredients packed with flavor, has been enjoyed for generations.
There's something so cool about tasting history,
Totally.
Speaking of taste, no meal's complete without something to drink, right?
Yeah.
And it seems Montenegro has options beyond the usual.
Oh, they definitely do. They've got a surprisingly good wine scene. Ever heard of the Vranak grape?
Can't say I have.
It's this grape, unique to the Balkans, grows really well in Montenegro, makes these really bold, full-bodied red wines. Delicious.
Interesting. Now, the guide specifically called out Planteja Vineyard. Is that where it's at for these wines?
Planteja, yeah, they're like the big name in Montenegrin wine. They've got these huge vineyards, some of the largest in all of Europe, and they do these fantastic tours and tastings.
I bet. Sounds like a dream. Sipping wine, surrounded by vineyard.
Exactly. But we got to talk about something a bit stronger. When in the Balkans, right?
Oh, yeah, you're talking about Rakica, right?
Rakica, you know it.
I mean, I've heard the stories. Strong stuff, right? But seriously, what makes it so special? And do the guides have a favorite?
Rakica is serious business in the Balkans, not going to lie.
Yep.
Super strong, often homemade, with recipes passed down, through generations. The guide suggests trying Krugovac. It's a pear brandy, a little sweeter. But seriously, a little goes a long way.
Noted. I might need to practice my Montenegrin cheers before I indulge in that one. But enough about the food and drinks. For now, Montenegro has a lot more to offer than just that, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's amazing how much diversity they've got packed into such a small country. One day, you can be wandering through the city. The next, you're kayaking on Skadar Lake, the biggest lake in the Balkans. That contrast is what makes it so captivating.
Bustling cityscapes to serene lakes, all within easy reach. I love it. The guides seem especially excited about 3-day trips Skadar Lake, which, I mean, duh, who wouldn't be? But also Budva and Cetinje. Let's break those down a bit. So we've got this amazing lake, but then two very different cities calling our names. What's the deal with Budva and Cetinje?
Well, Budva, that's your classic coastal paradise, right? Imagine beaches, sunshine, that beautiful Adriatic water.
Sounds pretty perfect so far.
Oh, and they've got some history too, ancient city walls, that kind of thing. You can soak up the sun all day, then dive into the nightlife when the sun sets.
My kind of place. And Cetinje, that was the old capital, right? What's special about it?
Cetinje is all about history. It's tucked away in these mountains, kind of like stepping back in time. They've got those old embassies, monasteries. You really get a sense of how Montenegro became its own nation when you're there.
From beaches to history, Montenegro really does have it all. Mm-hmm. Now, before we send our listeners packing their bags, the guides mentioned something about handball. Caught your eye, did it? Something about a sports legend.
Oh, yeah. It's these little things that really make a place come alive. The guides recommend catching a game, at the BMAX Arena. They've got this team, Orke Budućnost, a pro handball team. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing. Their coach is Bojana Popovic. She's like a total icon in the handball world.
Wow. So we're talking more than just a local team here. This is a chance to see a legend in action. Mm. Do people in Montenegro take their handball seriously then?
Oh, yeah. It's huge there. More than just a sport. It's like this point of national pride. Mm-hmm. And having Bojana Popovic, someone who played at the highest level, now coaching, it adds a whole other level to it.
Like witnessing history in the making. It reminds me of something else from the guide, something that seemed kind of small but made me think. They mentioned that credit cards are accepted everywhere in Montenegro.
Huh.
It made me wonder about this balance, right? You've got this country so steeped in tradition, proud of its heritage, but then they're totally plugged into the global scene, making it easy for visitors to experience it all.
That's a great point. It's that mix of old and new that makes Montenegro so fascinating.
It really makes you think, how does a country that was kind of under the radar for so long suddenly find its place in a globalized world?
It's a question worth asking. Mm-hmm. And as great as these guides are, I think that's something you really only grasp when you're there, experiencing it firsthand.
So to anyone listening, anyone feeling that adventurous itch, dreaming of beautiful beaches, that hearty mountain food,
yep,
maybe even a glimpse of a handball legend, Montenegro might be calling your name.
This deep dive, this was just a taste of what this incredible country has to offer. It's up to you to discover the rest.
Consider this your official invitation to go off the beaten path and discover the heart and soul of Montenegro. You never know what you might find. Until next time, happy travels.